Welcome, everybody. It's June the 28th, 2024, to Into the Fire, coming to you live from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Myself and my trusted friend, Ronnie Leatherman, in the house, coming at you.
I'm up at Grand.
You're off the grid. You're in another location in Northeast Oklahoma, near a lake.
I am. Yeah.
Welcome, everybody. Do what?
I'm up at Grand Lake, so no state secret or anything.
It's great. I see that fans are starting to come into the room. That's great. Thank you, Phyllis, Sally, Rachel, and the others that are joining us tonight. You know, it really does mean a lot to us that you guys join us each and every week. We had a little bit of a schedule situation with our guest. Something came up with him, and to tell you the truth, I just really wasn't in the mood to. I tried to get a couple of the detectives that we actually work with, but they couldn't make it either tonight. So maybe down the road we'll consider that. But so what's going on in your world the last week?
Work wise, same old stuff. Waiting on some lab stuff. Went through that case from 88. Got it put together. Sorry about that. A little technical difficulty there. Got it pretty much put together. Just so waiting on lab stuff from them. Yeah, and then I'm up here at Grand Lake. My wife's family's, they've got a retirement party for one of the family members, so I'm sneaking out here and avoiding 25 or 30 people that are in that house. So
nice.
But yeah, it's all good, and just having a good time and just ready for the weekend. I got a trip to Colorado planned in not next week, but the week after that, I'm going to be in Colorado for a week, and so we got all kinds of stuff going on. But yeah, just got a few more days of work, and then we'll start having some fun.
Good. I'm really excited about tonight's show. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. To all the guests that are all the people that had reached out to me, and I put a post out, and I said, I thought it would be fun just to kind of address questions, and maybe it'll turn into maybe Ronnie and I just talking about kind of reflecting a little bit about the 28 episodes. This is the 28th episode, but the 2,700 guests that we've had along the way over the course of this 54 minutes. And to tell you the truth, I think that it's been a lot of fun thus far. We've had some exceptional guests, some people that I didn't even think we would actually be able to have on the show at all, Yeah. Gil Carrillo, the lead detective from the Night Stalker case, is one of them. He's kind of on the upper tier type of guests that are out there in the country when it comes to homicide detectives. So, I thought we've had some really great guests. We've had some learning curves that we've ironed out, and just like you dropping your camera just a second ago, things like that, sometimes the audio, et cetera, and so forth. But as far as my week, I had an interesting court case that was a murder case that turned into a little bit of pandemonium out in the hallway after a witness testified, and then that turned into gunshots ringing out in near the courthouse where somebody was shooting at a couple of other people. That kind of goes back to my statement. I say this all the time: you just can't fix stupid, and there are stupid people that are in our world, and just craziness, really. So I don't know.
Yeah, that was a crazy deal. So I think me and Lacey, Vernon, and Ward were still at the office. There was two people who were First 48 super fans from Chicago that had stopped by, and one of the lieutenants from Sex Crimes came down, and he was like, "Hey, there's these people out there looking for some First 48 detectives." And Vernon and Ward are like, "Man, we haven't even ever been on the show yet, so I guess it's you." And I'm like, "Okay." So I convinced Lacey to go out there, and we're talking to them, and I mean, they were some great people, and just kind of telling them what we do in general. And then all of a sudden, here comes Ward and Vernon, and Vernon's like, "Hey, we got to go," and does one of these, and I'm like, "Oh, there's a shooting." So Lacey's like, "What?" And they're like, "Yeah, outside." And so Lacey takes off, and I'm standing there talking to these two fans from Chicago, and they're like, "Oh my gosh," they're like, "What's going on?" And so then here comes a few of the administrators, and
yeah, I had a feeling something was going to break off.
It was a crazy, wild thing, and I was telling them when I was done talking to them, I'm like, "Hey, The stuff's that way. So when you go out, go to the right. And they're like, okay, yeah, well, that's where we parked. So, but it just goes to show that you never know when something will happen, when it will happen. And
Yeah.
I mean,
Tensions were high. Tensions were definitely high. And, fortunately, I didn't see anybody really mean mugging me, but well, there wasn't just smiles coming my way either. But
I heard there was at least one person who wasn't a fan of yours, and that reminds me also. And I think maybe you were at work that day. I don't know that I was, but several years ago there was another shooting out there on the plaza in between the police department and the courthouse, and I mean, just you never know where something's going to happen.
Yeah, that was Andrew Dennehy. I'm very familiar with that situation. He's kind of related to a situation that I'm intimately connected with from back in the day. That's for another story down the line for sure. But yeah, I mean, it was a crazy week, and so a lot of the questions that poured in, honestly, Ronnie, I thought were really good, and some of them were like, for instance, just people asking about what's the toughest case that we have had in our career. And, I've got several toughest cases. Is there any of them that really jump out to you in your time?
There's probably two cases of the murders that I was the lead on that stand out to me. I mean, like you said, they're all terrible situations, and just for the most part, just a tragic deal. But the two that kind of stand out to me is one, 4 years ago now, when we had two police officers shot. One of them died, Sergeant Craig Johnson. And so I was the lead detective on that case. And that was just crazy because we hadn't had a Tulsa police officer killed in the line of duty in
not in our career.
Yeah, not in our career. 25 years before that. And so, and then Zarkashan, he fortunately survived, but I mean, I think it was touch and go for a while with him. And so that was just, tough because it was police officers and just the emotions that were running department wide at the time.
Agreed.
The aftermath, I mean, as far as difficulty level of solving the case, it was on your scale, it was about a 1. I mean, the stuff was on multiple cameras, 2 body cameras, a dashboard camera. The guy had already given the Craig and Zark his name and everything. So there wasn't any issues, solving the case as far as who did it. But we just had to track him down that day, and it happened pretty quickly. But then the outpouring of support from the community after that was something that I'd never seen from. I mean, you and I were in the car, I think, several times going to either funerals or different events and that. And I mean, the streets were just lined with people waving and thank you and signs and support. So that's one. And then the other one that I'll briefly say was I had one where you were a big part of it when a 5-year-old was, I think he was 5. It's been many years ago. A 5-year-old was shot and killed by his dad during
he was 5.
It was a custody battle.
Domestic drama.
Yes, that's the best way to say it. And he, so the guy basically broke into his estranged wife's house, shot and killed their son, who was 5, shot at the police officers when they arrived. And about the time that happened, my daughter was roughly that kid's age. And I can remember a couple people that we worked with coming up and were like, hey, man, if you want, I'll take this case because your daughter's that age. Are you all right? And I'm like, man, I'm fine. It's all good. I appreciate it. And I think we've even talked about it on here. The tough part of that case to me, well, again, as far as difficulty level solving the case, of 1. I knew who it was, but it was just the stuff that our crime scene guys had to deal with of being in that apartment for hours and hours.
Yeah.
Little 5-year-old, deceased in a bed. And one of those guys was, he's a captain now in the department, but he was one of my academy classmates from the police academy. So it was just, those are the two that kind of stand out to me. And I know you've got 40, maybe even 50 more murders as a lead than I did. So what's a couple that stand out to you?
Well, I think it's the ones where, like the Best Buy double, and that was a case that was tough. I mean, it was a hard case we figured it out, but things like that. And in that particular case, there was a 10-year-old little girl that was holding her father's hand at a Best Buy, and they actually they had actually checked out at the register, and that's when the little girl, her name was Maddie, she goes, "Oh, Dad, wait a second. What about that other movie for Mom?" And then
Yeah.
oh yeah, that's right. And then they turned around and they went to that section. And while they were standing there at that section, she was holding her dad's hand, and then they hear the shots ring out. And it was July the 12th of 2013, I believe, or it was 13. No, it was 12. It was actually 2012. It was July 12th of 2012. And that's when they hear the shots, and they both turn to look to see what's going on. And remember, this is July the 12th. So there's July 4th was right around the corner. So people are desensitized to those sounds. They think, oh, it's fireworks is what they thought. But they still looked. And that's when the victim, he had grabbed his chest, and he goes, "Oh my God." And that's when she thought he was kidding. Actually, that brief little moment in time, she thought he was kidding. And she goes, "Are you okay?" And he goes, "No." And he dropped to the floor. And at that very moment, there was a registered nurse that was right around the corner, and she ran over there and started doing CPR on him, and he died. And then another guy died outside, and that was as a result of just stupid gang violence. It was a retaliation over a double murder that had happened years before, where we also have that case is still unsolved. And then there's another double murder that happened after that double murder. And then this double murder that had happened because of that. So that's one of those. But I got to say, I've kept tabs on little Maddie for all these years. She's now in college now, but I've attended her, sometimes maybe this was a question and maybe it wasn't, but sometimes we adopt some of these families and they adopt us in return. And in that particular case, what stands out to me the most, that is probably the most moving for me, is that at that time, there was a major that worked at the South Division or Southwest Division. And she goes, "Hey, we were really wanting to put together some money for the family, or for the little girl, really, for the 10-year-old.
Yeah.
And her birthday was actually coming up that week. And, personally, and I never tell people that I guarantee them anything on any of these cases. And I certainly didn't in this case either, but I did make a personal, that was one of those cases that, man, we were working 12 to 16 hours every day. And I made it a personal mission that we were going to solve that case before her birthday. And I remember that she goes, "Well, we wanted to maybe do something for her." And I said, "Well, hang on, they wanted to wait till after all this stuff had happened a week or two later." And I said, no, wait, her whole family's here from all over the country. Maybe we can do it. Maybe we can do something for her here while the whole family's here. And I called the family, and the family said, absolutely. And we had a birthday party for that little girl at the house. And the most moving thing about that is that there literally was police cars, fire trucks, ambulances that were lining the streets. You couldn't get through that neighborhood. And inside of that house, it was wall to wall first responders and her family. And that's something that if you were to go into our South Division still to this day, and then we're talking 12 years later, there's photos of that event up on the wall, and a letter that she had wrote thanking the police department. And the reason why I mentioned that one too is because, believe it or not, a few years after that, she came up to me and she goes, it was probably at I think it was at her middle school graduation that I was at. And she goes, "Hey, can I do an internship with you guys?" And I was like, I don't know. And I'm looking at her mom going, I don't know if that'd be a good idea or not. But she ended up later on as a college student. She actually worked in our crime scene unit because she wanted to be a Tulsa police officer because of the treatment that she'd had from us. And I thought that was pretty amazing. And from there, she asked me for a reference for a letter of recommendation for law school, and I wrote one for her, and I'm gonna take partial credit for her getting accepted into law school. So that's what she wants to do, and it's all because of that case. It's weird how things happen in people's lives, and that is one of those stories, and we've both seen it with many victims, Ronnie. That's one of those stories where somebody has taken such a negative thing that happened in their life and has flipped it into a really positive situation. And But anyway, that's one of those. And somebody had asked a question too. What do you think are some of the qualities? I think it was Sally that asked this. I want to give credit where credit's due, because it was a really good question. But it was, and if I'm wrong, I apologize. But it was, what are some of the qualities of a good homicide detective? What are we looking for? What do we look for, Ronnie?
I think one, you got to have someone who
Oh,
can.
and hang on. It's
Yep.
Susanna Hicks that
Okay.
sent this question, and I want to give credit where credit's due. But go ahead.
I mean, there's several things. Obviously, some of the things that really jump out to me is you have to be able to communicate with people from all walks of life. You have to be able to pay attention to details. You have to be able to write good reports. You have to be someone who is willing to
Sacrifice their entire life.
well, I was gonna get ready to say sacrifice. I wasn't gonna say their entire life, but sacrifice large chunks of their life to the case and to your, because you and I both have missed who knows how many different family get-togethers or holidays and just hours and hours of sleep that we've missed over the years. Just, I mean, you're on call 24/7, and so those are the things that jump out to me. You were infinitely better at this than me about being compassionate, more compassionate about stuff. I mean, I not that I'm Superman or a robot, but I feel like I was a little more robotic at times than you. And okay, here's what I got to do. Here's how I need to do it. And I mean, obviously, I felt for the families, and I had no problem communicating with them and all that stuff. But you're just infinitely more compassionate and passionate.
It's hard. It's hard for me sometimes. Sometimes even on death notifications, I can't help it. I find myself tearing up, and it hurts. It literally hurts us. And I've seen you express emotion from time to time too, Ronnie. You're not a complete, yeah. But I'll tell you what. And I say this all the time, and I've probably even said it on this show, but I will share it with people. Is that if this job does not affect you in some way, shape, or form, and I don't mean that you're at home sucking on a bottle after you get home from work. I'm talking about, if this job doesn't affect you when you're giving a death notification to somebody, then you shouldn't be doing this job. I mean, you really shouldn't. And believe it or not, there are people out there in the world that are probably doing this job, or they're in different areas of law enforcement that, let's be real, they could probably give a rat's ass, honestly. But I don't think that we have that going on in our unit. And that's something that we want. We want people to care about what they do. And so forth. As far as what I would say, the qualities that I look for, and by the way, Ronnie and I never had any decision making as far as who would come into the unit. I'll be honest, I kind of get irritated at the fact that the bosses don't really. We should have a series. We did on a couple of them, and I think that's why we don't have meetings about others, because at times it's gotten pretty heated, especially when somebody I wanted and then, what I mean, we want the right fit of a person in there. So what I look for, and what I continue to preach, and I hope that if somebody's out there and they're listening to us, that's in any kind of a world, it doesn't have to be just law enforcement. It could be any occupation. It doesn't matter. I don't care what people look like on paper. I want somebody in there that's going to be a team player. I mean, I don't want a loner. We don't want loners, especially in this job. And we've had them. We've had people like that they're never to be found when you need help and stuff like that. But that's one of them. And then the other one that's really big to me is trainability. Some people are just not capable of doing this job, period. But you got to have somebody that's in there that is trainable. And that's what we're looking for. I don't want to hear that, oh, yeah, I got it. I know. Yeah, I've done this. I've done that. I don't want to hear that. I want to hear, hey, I just heard a dead body call come out. Can we go to that? And then once we get there, ask me questions. Make me feel important at a minimum, make me think that I'm telling you something or teaching you something. And that's one of the things that I always appreciated about Ronnie, is that we got in the car and we would just go and we would listen to the radio, and we would just stop in on suicide calls And it's not like we had 6 of them in a day. I mean, every now and then we would hear something like that go out, and we would go for training. I mean, just this, I want to go look. Tell us what you're seeing, and that's really what you want, because believe it or not, we're not born with this vast knowledge on how to do this job, and so we need to be trainable and so forth. But let's see. Let's find another question. Do you have any that come to mind, Ronnie? That you were? I sent you the list of a bunch of the questions.
But it's on my phone, and I'm using my phone for this, so I don't.
Oh, okay. Never mind. That's good. I'll have complete control over this. Somebody had basically this Karen Reed case, this murder trial that's out of Boston. It's I don't even know if the verdict came back on that deal, but a lot of people have told me I need to look into it. I have not looked into it at length, but here's one from Brittany Frederick. Brittany Frederick, by the way, is one of my favorite guests that we've had on the show. She's one of a long list of favorites, trust me. But Brittany had put on here, what's the best piece of advice that you've gotten in your careers and why? It's a great question. I love it. What do you think to that, Ronnie?
The best piece of advice I got in my career?
Yeah.
And why? Wow.
Good question.
Yeah. I think it would be something along. I don't have a specific thing, but just keep learning, asking questions. I can remember, in particular, back when I was trying to get into narcotics, I was in patrol for 3.5+ years before I went to narcotics, and there was a corporal, when we had corporals at the time, who I happened to go to a in-service class too, and he worked narcotics. And so I was asking him a couple questions, and we kind of hit it off. And then him and I ended up being partners in narcotics a couple times. And I can just remember asking him stuff, and then he would turn it around on me and be like, well, what do you think? What do you think you should do? Or how do you think you should handle it? And I would give him whatever answer, I was thinking. And I can remember one time in particular, he was like, okay, I can see why you would say that. We were dealing with like a meth lab type situation. He's like, I can see why we'd say that, but no, why wouldn't you do X, Y, or Z? But he made me think and figure stuff out. He didn't just give me the answer. And so I feel like that always worked well for me. I'm the first to admit that, I don't know everything about this job. And so I was willing to answer questions. And I think in turn, that's what, over the years, I know you and I in particular, there was countless times we told countless officers, hey, if you got questions, call me. Here's my number, email me, whatever. And we were always willing to help. And it was in large part because of some of the stuff that happened to me early in my career and just the help I received.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think for me, it's advice that I'd gotten from my dad, and there's 2 pieces of advice, and I still mention this at almost every conference that I speak at, or I try to mention it at least every training that I do. And that's 2 things. The number one thing that he told me, and this is the censored version, it was shut your mouth and listen to those that have been there before you, and just listen and watch and learn. You don't know what you're doing. Don't be a know-it-all. That was one of the pieces. But actually more important than that is actually the thing that he always taught me is to make sure that the badge that they issue you is not 5 sizes too big. Make sure it's the same size it was the day they issued it to you, and treat people right. Yeah. And your little saying to that, Ronnie, is always you'll treat people the way that they'll allow you to treat them. Yeah. And so I'm not advocating back rubs in the community, trust me, but we try to be nice to people, and I still like people. I really do. I still like people, and that's kind of the thing on that. Let's see what else. There's so many great questions here. I wish we could spend 5 hours talking about all these different things, but let's see. Here's one from Kelly. I can't even pronounce her last name, but I think it's Kirkland. It's just kind of a Kirkland. It's just a weird spelling on that last name. But is there any changes in your approach to interviewing suspects because of the First 48 show? Well, I think that Mark Kennedy's gotten a lot nicer in the interview room. For me, I don't even think about the cameras, honestly. I don't think about that. Do you? When you were in there? I didn't really think about that.
I'm sure early on it was, well, I know it was just different having the camera in your face. I don't feel like it necessarily changed the way I approached interviews or how I would do a case. I mean, there was times we just mouthed off to the camera just to be funny or something like that. But as far as specifically on the case, no. And then I agree with you. After a while, you don't even. It's not anything different. In fact, there was times, and I've told people this before, it was weird to me if they weren't there, because you're just like looking around. It's like, oh, where the heck's freaking Mikey at? Or, oh yeah, they're not following this case. Or, oh, he's with Jason now. And so it was like they were, and they still are, part of the squad.
Yeah.
And so, but no, I don't think the cameras changed how I approached an investigation or specifically an interview.
I'll tell you one thing that happened to me recently. Jeff Gatwood, who's in our squad, and he'll watch this episode. He actually watches us. He actually enjoys the show, and we really don't know if anybody in our unit actually watches this. I know Jeff does, but the rest of them, they probably don't. And if they do, then they're not going to mention that they do. So you know what I mean? They won't say, "Oh, that's great," But one of the things that Jeff said is, I've had the cases that I've had that he came up to me. It was it meant the world to me to hear this compliment, but it was, hey, I really appreciate the fact of how hard you worked on I've had 2 cases this year that I thought were incredibly work intensive. And he goes, man, you worked your tail off on those cases and they weren't even following you on that show. And that really is not the motivator, but I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I thought that was a really powerful compliment. One of the people, actually, Hannah Claire, asked if either of us had thought about moving up the ranks and maybe becoming the chief of police one day. Well,
no.
Let me put it this way. I have to be careful on this response. I think I could be the chief. I don't think that. I mean, what the chief's position is, honestly, there's a lot of decision making that goes on, but it's really a public relations position. I don't want to downplay it. Yeah, I got to be careful. So, and by the way, we'll congratulate the Chief Dennis Larson. I mean, he's going to be our new one. He's going to be a phenomenal chief, by the way. But they do a lot of speaking events. They go into the community and they go to a lot of meetings and stuff like that. And you have to be an exceptionally good communicator. So I don't think that I would have any issues with respect to that. The problem is that you gotta really, people that get promoted. I'm just gonna, Ritter got promoted, Chase got promoted. I'm not saying it has. Congrats to them. Ronnie and I have had this discussion. We talked about promoting. We were going to study together and we were going to try to do that. But, at the end of the day, what do you want to do? My dad told me, he goes, why in the heck would you want to do that? You got the world at your fingertips right now. You're able to interview these people. You're instrumental in these cases. You're working the cases. And that's something for me I'm very passionate about. And I've worked my whole life to get to this position. And so that's kind of my thoughts. What's yours?
I mean, yeah, my short answer is no. I had zero desire to be the chief. As far as people like Chase and Justin and a handful of others, and there's so many people who got promoted now that I don't even know, but I think it is very important for some people like them who have shown that they are as good a supervisor as they were a detective. Mm-hmm. I think you need those type of people in the supervisory roles. And obviously good communicators, because they've got to be able to deal with all the public relations stuff, the political stuff that the ground floor officers don't. And they also, at the same time, understand what goes into these cases. So I think that's very important. And I'm not going to say any names, but and as well, there are countless supervisors on the department that people have like shaken their head like, how did they get promoted? And I've heard stories of
really.
The only reason I'm getting promoted is so I don't have to work anymore. And
yeah, I've heard that a lot.
That's sad, but
pathetic.
I mean, it is.
Matter of fact, there's I'm reading one over here. Mike Soul, who happens to be a captain at Sapulpa Police Department. He's a friend of mine, and his brother was a cop with us. He goes, Chief White, that he likes it. Well, I do too, and that would be great. I just need a field promotion up to some other rank and so forth. But I wouldn't. I don't know. I still like what we do. I like being in that interview room. A political position is what Lisa Karen had mentioned. And yeah, I've thought about that. I've thought about maybe running for House rep, not for the U.S. side. I don't think I could stand up to the scrutiny that would be going on in my background, but For the state? Yeah, probably. I think I could do that, and I think I would enjoy to see that process at work. So I have thought about that, but that would be later on down the line after I retired. So, that's one of those things.
What
What
else you
else? What else? Well, I'll just ask this one. Have you ever had a, we do deal with a tough job, and people have asked. There was one of them. There was something about, what's the bloodiest scene you worked and so forth. I can tell you that there was a scene that was not on the first 48, and I think Ronnie will agree with me on this case. And it was a quadruple homicide that we had, and I'm not talking about the one that is still unsolved that we both worked as well. We helped on that one, but I'm talking about the one that happened down in South Tulsa. And in that particular case, it was 4 women that were bound and brutally murdered. And to me, the thing I remember about that case, and because I think the question goes back to, does any of these cases actually keep you awake at night? I wouldn't say that necessarily. I dream about murders sometimes. I dream about being at work. Do you ever do that? I've never really asked you about that. Do you dream about being at work?
I'm sure I've had some, but not nothing that stands out to me. And as far as keeping me up or anything like that, it wasn't, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just saw that, I can't sleep. It was more of stuff I would wake up and be like, man, today I need to go find some video, or today I need to go find this potential witness. I would wake up and just immediately start thinking about some of the stuff I needed to do. But it wasn't like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I saw the blood and guts and brains and today, and oh my gosh, it's keeping me awake. And I don't know, maybe who knows what that says about me. But
somebody had asked me a question. If my medical, what did you do before you came here? You worked at a bank.
I worked at a bank I worked at a bank through high school and in college. So, I will say that was a great experience because I had to deal with people from all walks of life. And that was one of the things when I first started working there was the president, because it was a family owned bank, and the president, the owner of the bank, when he hired me, I was a sophomore or junior in high school, and he was like, hey, you're going to see stuff in here that you can't talk about as far as like people's finances. And he goes, there's some people in the community who people think have a lot of money and they don't have any. They're so far in debt, it's crazy. And then on the opposite end of that, people think that person's living in a little bitty house and driving that old car, but they have, $1 million. So I was able to start communicating with people from all walks of life early on. So
me too. And for me, I worked in the medical field for 10 years before coming here. I worked in the burn center, and then I went on from there. I've been dealing with death and destruction since I was 18 years old. So to tell you the truth, and has it helped me? Absolutely. Absolutely. No doubt. I would say that some of the smartest people that I would work with were surgeons, and they're probably some of the worst communicators I've ever experienced in my life. I know that sounds crazy, but it's like they don't even live in reality, and having to communicate with them at times is really a challenge in and of itself. But from that, I can tell you that when I came on the department, I kind of had withdrawal, and what I'm getting at is that I kind of missed. I've been involved in probably 4,500 to 5,000 surgeries, and out of that, you see a lot of horrific things in surgery. And I kind of missed that. I know that doesn't even sound normal. It sounds like I might need counseling even saying that. But in reality, when I became a cop, I was like, are you kidding me? Where's all the craziness, the trauma? I'm ready to see some trauma because I was an adrenaline junkie that you are when you work in surgery. And so I missed that adrenaline that push of adrenaline every single time, life and death. And when I came here, it was like 99. Well, the old saying is it's 99% boredom and 1% sheer terror. And when you have those sheer terror moments, just like that situation at the courthouse, those are those moments that you're just like, oh my gosh, this thing could turn on a dime. Let's see what else. What's some other? Go ahead.
Real quickly, I want to throw something on that one. So that quad that you're talking about down at Fairmont, I didn't go out on that because me and Jesse McNeil from Warrants had to go deal with one of Nathan's cases when that was going on. But the bloody case, and I did very little on that case, but the one that stands out to me was Diana Ballman had one out east where I think it was domestic related, but the entire house was covered with that lady's blood. It was a day that we had like 3 or 4
Oh,
other.
I know that case. Yeah, I know
Yes.
it. Yep.
So
Yep.
my answer to that was that's the bloodiest one that I remember. There was just
Yeah. It was
the
horrible.
house was painted with blood. It was crazy
Yeah.
inside.
I've never seen anything like that before or since. It was crazy.
Yeah.
I didn't think somebody had that much blood in them. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It was crazy. But you're right. I remember that now. But the
Yeah.
other one, the reason why I mentioned that quad is that you could literally see the fear on those women's faces.
Yeah.
I remember that, you know. But anyway, somebody else, Alicia Harden asked a question. She asked, looking back, would I have done anything differently on the Courtney Palmer case? And the answer is, if I had a crystal ball and I knew what was going to happen to him, I would have let him move into my house. You know what I mean? If
Yeah.
I'd have known that this kid was going to end up getting killed, I like the kid. Aside from that, you know, not knowing what ultimately was going to happen to him, no, I think we did exactly what we were supposed to do, and that was take him home to his mother where he was loved. And the problem with Courtney is that, you know, a lot of people don't realize this, but that day that day after we got done interviewing him, you remember this, Ronnie, because we were walking out of the hospital when he was calling me, and I'm like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah.
He was like, I'm at my probation office. I need this. I need that. You know, it was just 90-0. And I was like, go home. What are you doing? And he had called me, 10, 12 times that day. And I was like, dude,
yeah.
please go home. And,
I feel like you caught some flack on that case that I don't think was warranted, that people don't know the whole story. And as you kind of just said, there's only so much we as the police can do. And I'm not trying to, I mean, the people who killed Courtney are locked away where they need to be. But there are times that, and not just him, but you have to listen to the advice you're given, and you have to have people in your inner circle help you out as well. It's not
true.
solely the police department's responsibility. And I guess I'd leave it at that.
A couple of them I want to hit real quick. Are any of our kids interested in criminal justice, and would we turn them away? This is coming from Barb Scraba. I know Scraba. And do we have kids that are interested in law enforcement, and would we try to sway them away from it?
My kids aren't interested in it. If they were, I would be brutally honest with them on what to expect and how things have changed since the late 90s when I started my law enforcement career to how it is now. But ultimately, I would tell them, learn as much as you can about the job. I will tell you anything and everything you want to know, but it's ultimately their decision.
Yeah. You know, as far as my kids, I think that they both at one time or another have talked about it. I would rather they didn't, honestly. And I'll say I would rather they become a firefighter. If they're going to get into anything in the field of first responder stuff, I would rather them be a firefighter, honestly. And it's just that the world is so different now. And, you know, I just think that I love it. I can't imagine doing anything different. But and actually, my nephew just got hired by the Oklahoma City Police Department. I'm super stoked for him. I think that's great. But I don't know that that's something that I would want one of my kids doing. That's just me. Now, the other thing that we got a question about is and this is coming from Donnie J. Donnie J actually is writing a book, and I'll send you a copy of it too, Ronnie. Yeah. And because he sent me the rough draft of it. And no, Donnie, I haven't finished it. It takes me a little longer to read books than Ronnie. Ronnie reads all the time, but Donnie's in the house, and he said, what are our hobbies for the both of us outside of the yellow crime scene tape? What are yours?
My hobbies, I used to basketball, but my knees don't like me playing anymore. So my hobbies now is I do yoga, I don't know, 5 or 6 times a week. And I love going into the mountains, so hiking, and I ride a bike. And I was talking earlier, I'm going to Colorado in a couple weeks, and I'm doing a 118-mile bike ride over 3 mountain passes. So yoga, riding a bike, and like hiking type stuff are my hobbies.
Well, this is one of them. Actually, this has been a fun hobby for me. I like talking to people. I like learning how other people are. I know that this takes a lot of work, a lot more work than people realize. I mean, we have to have a commitment. There's a lot of stress that comes to this with me, that I'm always worried about Friday nights and missing. something, getting called out.
Yeah.
So this is a hobby. I'll tell you another hobby for me is I like to teach. And I know that that's still dealing with criminal justice, so to speak. But for me, my wife, Tina, and I should have her come out here, but I think she's taking a nap. But she basically, she has said this to me before, and I actually kind of believe it, is the fact that she thinks it's kind of therapeutic for me. And maybe it is, because I just enjoy teaching. It's something that I really enjoy. The bigger the room, if it's 500 people to 1,000 people, even better. I mean, I have a tough time teaching to 5 people. Okay. But when it's 1,000 people, I'm all about it. And I've been fortunate enough to go to various places. I'll be in Virginia in October. I just found out I may be going to Boston in October as well for some Chiefs conference or something to talk about one of the cases that we've had. And I love it. I love it. So that's one of the things that I would say. I like to camp. I've got that travel trailer that I need to spend a lot more time in it. I wish I could read more, things like that. But anyway, that's kind of it. I mean, anything else on that?
No, I like to travel as well. I mean,
love to travel.
Yeah. So
love the beach. Oh, I'm a Florida Panhandle super fan. And I really am. I'm super fan on that. Who cleans out the interrogation rooms? That's a great question. That comes from Audrey Byram. And it doesn't look like anybody does. If you look at the wall where the people's heads are resting up against it, those things are like ghetto rooms, really. But we should be good stewards of taking, when we have people in there, we're kind of the ones that are responsible for making sure that the water bottles are taken out of there and such. But I would hate to swab that table in that room, man. There's people, and just imagine the nasty things that might happen in a sex crimes interview room. And think about it. That stuff does happen in those rooms. So there's some really strange, weird people that get interviewed in their interview rooms. I always get a little bit weirded out when I'm in there, because God only knows what's going on up in there. But yeah, there's all kinds of weird stuff that they don't get deep cleaned. Let's just put it that way. They really, probably should. Let's see. What else here? I want to try to get as many of these in as we possibly can. Let's see. I will tell you this while I'm looking up something. What is our thoughts about being on the first 48, and what has that experience been like for us? That's just a question I'm throwing to you, Ronnie. What's it been like for you?
It's been nothing but positive for me. I mean, I've made some great friends from that. The biggest is probably Brandon Swanson. Him and I we usually try to, he doesn't live in Tulsa anymore, but we try to get together once a year or so to go hiking, overnight like hikes and camps and stuff like that. Mikey's obviously a big friend of mine. We do stuff multiple times a year away from work. But I've just made some really good friends from there. Adam Singer's another one. I could go on and on. We had Kip on here, but the ones that I became, I would say, like a friend with was obviously Brandon, and then Mikey and Adam. I mean, I've done stuff away from work with them on a regular basis. As far as we kind of talked about earlier, I mean, you don't want to look stupid on the camera, but I don't feel like having the camera there changed how I would do an investigation. And you can speak to this as well as I can, if not better. We've had nothing but positive reaction from the community on people coming up to us. I mean, still to this day. I mean, it's almost a daily basis that I have someone coming up to me and, hey, thanks for what you do. Hey, you're from First 48. Hey, are you Leatherman from First 48? And so it's just been super positive thing for me. So, yeah, that's what I would say.
Agreed. There's a question here that kind of is like that. It's golly, I just had it here just a second ago, but it basically, sorry, I can't find it quick enough to say your name, but what was it? It was basically, what is your family's reaction when you get recognized out in the community? And for me, I can tell you right now, my family, it's just like, oh, here my daughter. I can just hear her right now. First of all, my daughter doesn't care that I'm on TV. Neither do my stepkids. They don't watch it. They could care less. I don't even think they watch this podcast, really. And so they really just don't care. My dad's a super fan. He'll watch. He loves it. I don't know that my brother watches it. My brother's he's like the number one legal guy for Oklahoma Bureau of Narcotics. He's an attorney for him. I don't think he really cares. So, but my family, they're just kind of like, here we go again. Oh gosh, that kind of a thing. But I've been just like you, Ronnie. I mean, we've been recognized from one end of this country to the other. I mean, in the middle of a Walmart in Destin, Florida, and it's always fun, man. I love it. It's never usually. I mean, I was getting yelled at a couple of days ago, as you'd mentioned briefly.
Yeah,
but,
I guess I would add similar experiences for me. I remember early on when people started recognizing us when we were out at work. If we'd be at lunch, people would come up to us. And when I started telling my wife about that, I don't think she believed me at first. And then there was one day me and her and my daughter were out for dinner. And this one waitress kept looking over. And I'm like, she's getting ready to come up here and say something. So she came over and was like, hey, I'm sorry to interrupt. Are you Ronnie from First 48? And I'm like, yeah. And so, I mean, it was a positive little quick interaction. And then when they walked off, my wife was like, oh my gosh, I didn't think we're being serious about that. But
yeah,
it happened. And nowadays they're like similar stuff like, oh, here we go, another super fan. I mean, in jest, they say it, but yeah, it's been fine. And they're used to it at this point.
Yeah. And basically somebody had asked, it was Linda Ellington had asked, when did I leave the medical field? Well, I'll just tell you this. I got hired by Baptist Burn Center July the 6th of 1988. And then I went to heart surgery at another hospital as a scrub tech. And I started there July the 6th, 1992. And then I came to the Tulsa Police Department July the 6th, 1998. There's something about July 6th. Yeah. And then I think, wasn't our first episode on the First 48 on July the 6th?
Well,
I
don't know
start filming then. I don't remember. No,
I think it's when it aired, but that's when they started filming. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that's right. So there's something with July 6th in my world that's going on. But I left. That's when I started in the medical field. Quite frankly, I'm really surprised. Had I been accepted during an interview for the RN program, I probably would have still been there actually, but they turned me down at a young age, and I was so mad about it. I was like, "Well, I'll just show you. I'll never apply again." And the rest is history. I ended up coming here. Actually, there was other events that happened in the world, like Waco and the Oklahoma City bombing, that really was a motivator for me to get back up on the horse and try to chase my dream of being a homicide detective, kind of deal. What were you going to say?
No,
I can tell you. I can tell you this much. I had applied for the homicide unit 2 other previous times, and I'd been rejected a lot throughout my career. Totally the opposite of Ronnie. Ronnie's the golden boy. Okay. Ronnie will apply for something and they're like, oh my gosh, we got to have him. Me, on the other hand, I had to work my butt off to get anywhere. And that's okay. That's okay. But the funny part is that by the third time I didn't apply. The first 2 times I didn't get the job, and I was told, oh yeah, you're the guy, and all this nonsense. And so and back then they didn't do any interviews. You just kind of heard, and they didn't call you and tell you either. You'd hear through the grapevine that so-and-so got it, kind of a deal. So but I remember when on the third time I didn't apply, and we have to wait 21 days for the letter to be out. And the supervisor at the time, he had called me and he goes, where the heck is your letter? And I said, I haven't turned it in. And he goes, well, why not? And he was really yelling. He was really mad. And I said, well, because I'm not interested in being rejected yet a third time, if you catch my drift. And I'm thinking about maybe going to sex crimes or child crisis, And he goes, get down there, turn your letter in or whatever. And then I got picked up. I'm really lucky to be there because I kind of had run-ins with him more than once. And who would have thought I'd still be here in this unit at this point? Because I thought I'd have been booted long ago. But nevertheless, because I am the older I get, the more vocal I'm getting, and that's just the way it is. Somebody else had asked for you, Ronnie. You've retired. We're coming up to the last 4 minutes here. For me, I'm probably not going to retire for another 5 to 9 years. Just to let you know, I know that every time I turn around, there's somebody going, "Hey, he retired." No, I didn't retire. I'm not going anywhere. I will stick around for another 5 to 9 years, health permitting. And what would I do outside of retirement? Well, I mean, if I could pick any job right now, I wouldn't mind being like a game show host. I think that'd be fun. Put me on a show like, I mean, how cool would it be like to be like The Price is Right? Wouldn't that be awesome? Just giving stuff away and having fun with people. That would be awesome. I would love that.
I could see you doing it. I no, that wouldn't work for me. And I mean, your brother did that already, so it would be in the family, right?
My brother was a game show host on Nickelodeon back in the 90s, and it was the worst game show host, or the worst game show in the history of game shows ever. It was called You're On, but he was also on that show called Figure It Out, where they drop that green slime on your head and stuff, and he did that back when he was a kid. But for me, I will tell you this. I mean, I had talent scouts for 2 separate reality shows hit me up, and they wanted me to apply, and they wanted me to. I think I would have been picked, honestly. And I mean, when they're calling you to do it, and then I really wanted to do it, but my wife was like, no. you're not going to go traveling the world, and I'm sitting here at home. And I was like, but I want to. And plus it's tough because we have a job that's just not really conducive for us to being able to do that. I mean, we've got to be at work. We can't just be gallivanting across the world. Let's see if we can get one more question in, and then we'll kind of close this thing out.
I got a question.
By the way, yeah, go ahead.
I just think so. Earlier they were asking about, someone asked about like toughest cases or whatever. What has been the most interesting case you've had? Because I've said before, like, people would come up and I don't think they meant it negatively. Like, hey, what was the funnest case you ever worked on? And I'm like, none of them are quote unquote fun because somebody got killed, but there were definitely some that were more interesting than others. And what case really stands out to you, other than the ones maybe you've already mentioned, if there is one?
Oh, I mean, one of them was one of yours. I mean, that one where we had a guy that was Ronnie. It was Ronnie's case. He had a guy that was tortured, and that turned out into just craziness. As a matter of fact, it turned out to where we were interviewing one of these guys in reference to that case, and the guy's like, "Hey, I know where your daughter goes to school." This guy's like and we're sitting in the jail, and I'm like, "I don't know what you're talking about, man. I don't even have kids." And he goes, "Oh, no, it's you." And I'm like, no, it isn't me. I don't have kids. I live outside of the city. It was a little spooky. Yeah. And because he was right, you know what I mean? And that's happened a couple of times. Man, I don't know. I mean, and I'm going to correct you a little bit. I think that there are some cases that are kind of fun. It's not fun necessarily that somebody died. That's not what I'm getting at. But it is fun when you can. Some of the cases, man, when you're running on them, some of them are. I mean, it's fun. And you know it when you're on that momentum. That momentum is just it's pushing you to the next point. Hard work's paying off. Those are the cases that I kind of appreciate at the end of the day. The ones where you found something, or that little extra work. You know, I remember Ritter's where they had that guy that was laying in that field, and it was like counties originally, and just by living in the neighborhood where this thing had happened and finding every single video in that whole neighborhood, and then finding that one that just happened to show something that broke it wide open. Things like that. That's what I appreciate. At 7:53, we're getting close. For those of you ladies and gentlemen, we wanted to let you know that we're going to be taking a break throughout the rest of the summer. Ronnie and I both, he's got a lot of things happening, and I hate that for everybody, because I'm gonna miss seeing you guys each and every week. I will tell you, Amanda, throw up all of throw my Twitter up. Ronnie doesn't have social media, so I'm not trying to hog the social media end of this, but Ronnie doesn't. He's actually smart. He doesn't have it. But hey, get on my Detective Jason White Facebook page. I will update you on there as far as, plus you can, if you go on there, you can actually watch the episodes of every single of the previous ones that we've had. Thanks, Danny. We appreciate you. You're a great guest. We're not leaving forever. We don't know what's going to happen. I told Ronnie a long time ago, what did we say? I said, we're going to reevaluate this after 6 months. And Ronnie held me to 6 months on the dot and said, you remember, you told me we're going to reevaluate this. So what we might do is what we're probably going to do. We have other things that we have to do for sure. But what we're going to do is we're going to try to make this better. We want it to be even better. And so we're going to try to figure out how we might be able to do that. If down the line, if you know of businesses and stuff that may want to advertise and so forth, then have them reach out to me, and maybe we can come up with something, put the word out. Maybe we can, there's some businesses that I've already got in mind, a distillery and Oregon that we might be able to get on board. Who knows? I'm still trying to get the Spice King to open the wallet up, and Doug Satchery, he's my buddy. He's the Nonsense Chronicles podcast. Check him out. And I don't know. We'll see. We're going to try to do something good. If you guys have any suggestions, we got to get off here. But if you have any suggestions, throw them to me either on Twitter or Instagram, or follow me on my Detective Jason White Facebook page. We are going to continue to do this, right, Ronnie? We're doing this.
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly say this has been great and fun, and I appreciate you asking me to do this. And yeah, the people who watch every day, or every week, it's been great, and we really do appreciate it. And yeah, we'll be back. It's just, yeah, we need to figure a couple things out and make this better than we need to improve. And so thank you, and pay attention to Jason's stuff, and we'll see you guys.
Yeah, we're really wanting to make this better. That's what we're looking at. We're coming back. I don't know what that's going to look like at the end of the day. I don't know where we're going to be coming back at, or here or elsewhere, or who knows what. But we're going to talk about it, and we're going to figure it out. But until then, thank you to everybody for spending each one of these Friday nights with us. I cannot thank you enough, from Barb, Teresa, Phyllis. The list just goes on and on. Susan, all of these people that have just every single Friday night, you're the OGs, you're the tribe. You're hanging out with us every single week, and man, I can't tell you how much we appreciate that. Make sure you like this, hit like, watch it. All these people, thank you again. I can't say it enough. Ronnie, final words?
Thanks to KGRA for having us also.
Absolutely. And thanks to Amanda back behind the scenes, behind the curtain. I know she's got to run, or actually she doesn't really have to run, but we probably should get off here. But Amanda, thank you for all of the hard work that you do behind the scenes. And she's a huge supporter of us, etc. We will see you in the near future. And until then, check me out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and take us out, Amanda. Thank you.